what's going on, family? Welcome back to the channel. Strat here from Strategic Audio, back with a brand new video. Today it's back to that old faithful, showing you how to make them authentic vintage soul type samples. You know, that's my bread and butter. You know, I love doing this. Today the focus is on just showing you the easiest way to get there using the most important types of instruments to really make it, you know, give it that vintage edge. Obviously you're dealing with acoustic instruments and those classic sounds. Anyway, if you're into this type of stuff and you've seen my videos before and you like what you're seeing, please drop the video a like and perhaps subscribe to the channel so you can get more videos just like this one. Also, links in the description. You can grab some of my free and premium kits. They're some of the best in the business in my humble opinion. There's also a fantastic offer down there for anyone who's interested. Our biggest royalty-free sample pack is currently 80% off, no code needed. Alright, so let's get into the heart of this video, and of course you know how I usually start. I start with a piano chord progression using Piano Tech 8. This is actually me taking you through a cookup that I did yesterday. We're working in the key of B minor at 75 BPM. Let's go. Alright, so here we have a nice little melancholy, emotional 8-bar piano chord progression. Nothing too complex. I taught myself to play the keys, as some of you may already know, and I just enjoy sitting at the keyboard and playing in this style that I try to emulate, the style of those older 1970s, maybe even 60s, kind of slow, even slow to mid-tempo vintage soul tracks. As per usual, I'm going to take you through the basic chord structure. Here we start off with a G major 7 chord, then it moves to the F minor 7, back to a G major 7, this little staccato chord in the middle here, that's just an A major, and lastly it's a B minor 7. Obviously these are not straight chords, as you will see throughout. There is a bit of melody played in between. It's just a stylistic thing. It's how I like to play. Lots of keyboard players will do the same thing, but it just depends on your ability with the keyboard and its practice. This isn't really something that I can explain to you how to do, other than to say, if you understand your scales and you get good enough with the dexterity of your fingers, you can begin to intuitively know which notes to play in which style, in which cadence, in which rhythm, to begin to do something like this, or even way more complex than this. It just comes down to practice. Maybe I'll do a separate video on this topic soon. So the next part I played in was a vocal part using good old Omnisphere. Originally it's based on an Omnisphere preset, and using a bit of sound design skill and experience, I made the preset my own, changed up enough of the parameters to make it sound a little bit more realistic and authentic to the type of vocal that you would hear on those old vintage soul tracks as like background vocals. And so this is what it sounds like. I've used it before a zillion times. Next up, I grabbed my old guitar. You can see it in the back right there. It's very old. One of the strings is broken. The high E string is broken, but it still gets the job done. Just a nice little top line melody. Nothing too fantastic, nothing too complex. As you can see, as it ends, it kind of tries to play the same notes as the piano. So I'm again not trying to go in a direction that is too different. You know, trying to put your melodies in too many different directions, you're going to end up with something that sounds like cacophony. If you don't know what that word is, please look it up. You prefer to have harmony versus cacophony. Simple. Next part I played in is this bass guitar using the very, very excellent Moto Bass 2 by IK Multimedia. What I'm doing here is taking advantage of octaves and fifths. With basses, I've found, and I've also heard other producers talking about this, or other musicians talking about this, fifths and octaves work really well in bass lines. The octave is obvious because it's just the same note an octave up. The fifth, or maybe if you want to call it the perfect fifth, I guess it works because, for example, if you're playing G major, the fifth note in that scale and that chord is D. So if there's a G major chord playing and you want to play a bass with a little bit of melody in it, perhaps two of the most obvious notes that will fit there would be the octave because it's playing the G, and the fifth because that D is one of the leading parts of that G major chord, part that you might hear most prominently, of course depending on how you've played the chord. But anyway, remember that fifths and octaves work well with bass lines if you're trying to make your bass have melody and movement. If you're just trying to play straight root notes, then don't worry about that. But if you're trying to make something that sounds like what a bass player would actually play, then think about that. So for the next part, I play some strings, and I've talked about this before. I use a sound font, and that's something that a lot of newer producers don't really know what it is. SOUND-FONT. Please look it up. You're not going to be impressed by them all because they're based on multi-sampling. Like if you owned an upright piano, you can create a sound font using your upright piano. The sound fonts are very small, so the quality isn't always great. I'll probably do a bit of research on sound fonts and give the younger viewers a bit of a deep dive into how they're made. But just know that they can be useful if you find the right ones. These strings sounded pretty good, and I did a lot of EQing and reverbing on these strings to make them sound how I wanted. So the final melodic part that I'm going to show you is a Rhodes. And basically what I'm doing with this Rhodes is I'm playing the same chords as the piano chord progression, but I'm also playing an octave up layer that's on an off beat, just to give it some movement and variation. This is a technique that you will probably see and hear in a lot of jazzy, a lot of soulful compositions. Okay, so I wanted to add drums to this sample, and here go the drums. All right, family, thanks again for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope the little tidbits of advice and explanations that I sprinkled in throughout are helpful. Please let me know in the comments what you actually think of this composition. Your support, your liking, your subscribing, your just watching means a great deal to this channel as we try to continue to grow. Again, links in the description to our free and premium kits. I think there are some great quality. If you don't believe me, check out for yourself, listen to the demos. All right, so before we disappear, I'm gonna play the final composition for you, mixed and mastered and arranged. So peace, I'll see you in the next video.